Hey guys, January 10th. Welcome officially back out to the Dragon's Lair workshop. This vlog is again on the foam board carving, another stage of it. And we're going to be focusing on mounting foam board panels to partition walls. We're showing you the process of it. And then going through and painting the panels. And it's a lot more complicated than it really looks. Actually, it's not complicated, it's just labor intensive. Now, as far as, okay. Now, as you can see, I've got one of my pillar panels in here, and I've got one of my partition walls. For my haunt, I decided to make all my panels 2 foot wide. Easier for storage, easier for hauling, what have you. I'm not going to go into all of it, but everything consists of either 2 foot and in some rare occasions a couple of 1 foot panels as far as width, and then length is about 7 feet. 6 foot 11 inches and a quarter to be exact. So, because that's the height of my big tent, you know, from ground up to the crossover. Now, to mount the panels to the frames, there's 2 different ways I can do it. The first way is I could get some of that foam adhesive caulking and just simply run a bead of foam around the edge here, smack the panel onto it, and be done with it. Problem with that makes it permanent. Once you glue these panels onto your frameworks, you cannot get them off without destroying the panel. Guaranteed. And I don't want that. I want to be able to remove the panels in case of damage down the road, or if I need the partition wall for something else other than for that panel and stuff. I want to be able to remove that panel. Now, in years past, I've used this method. It's a fender washer and a screw, and you basically just put the washer where you want it, run the screw through it, right into the partition wall, snug it down. Works great, because if you ever want to remove it, you just back the screw out, pop the fender washer off, and the panel's loose. Now, one of the problems I do have with it are these fender washers. You know, like a box of 100 of them run anywhere from $8 up to about $10 a box. 100 fender washers, you figure I'm doing 41 panels in this set. There's 8 washers per panel. You know, I put 2 screws at the bottom, another 2 screws here, 2 screws here, and another 2 there. Time you add up, it's 8. A box of 100 of these suckers don't go a long way. You could probably get 5 or 6 panels done. And at $10 a pop, time you're doing 40 of them, and oh God, you know, you're looking at a couple $100 just in washers. Now, I was watching some of my vlogs I subscribe to, and a friend of mine, Rich, aka Ghoulish Cop, lives in New Jersey, back east, was making up a facade, however you want to call it, for his haunt this year. And this last year, I should say, is when he was making the facade. But he was going to do something similar, with the fender washer idea, but he came up with a neat, more cost-effective way of doing it. He went down to his local hardware supply store and bought this. It's basically a nail with a plastic washer on it. And I figured, that would be kind of cool. So I checked into it. You can get a tub of these, and I think it's either a 5 or a 10 pound tub. And there's several thousand screws in there with these little washers on there. For $25. I got mine down at Home Depot for about $25. I have no idea how many of these little washers are actually in it. A couple of thousand, easy. But anyway, I don't need the nail part on it. I decided I'm going to follow Rich's lead. I'm going to pop that nail out, which I have done. I haven't got them all done yet, but I got a huge bag full of just these washers. And then I can take my washer, plastic washer at that too, so they're a little bit lighter weight, put that on the foam, set the screw on it, and just run it in. And that will be my attachment. The plastic washer will help hold the foam to the panel a little bit better than just a screw head. So my next project now, before I can start doing my painting, is I've got to go through all the panels I've gotten done, and I got 21 panels there. The rest of them are still inside waiting to be carved. And I'm going to go through and just temporarily attach them to a panel, to one of my partition walls. My basic reasoning is once you attach these into place and tighten the washers down a little bit, it leaves an indent in the foam, and you end up with like a little lip a little bit here. I want to make sure all that gets covered by paint, so I want to make sure all the panels have their indents in them prior to doing any painting. So I'm going to take some time, and I brought in just one partition panel, and I'm going to sit here, mount a skin to it, take it off, put the next one, mount it to it, take it off, and the end result is it's going to end up leaving me a mark right where all my washers go. That way I can get things all uniform and everything else. That's my next project. Once that's done, we're going to get in to doing some painting. And I mentioned in the last vlog I picked up 8 gallons of paint. I've got 2 kind of a light gray, which will do the base coat, the base color for the wainscoting. I got 2 of a lighter red, which are the base coat for the upper part, the wallpaper section. Then I've got, I'm not sure if that's coming up, a purple. And that purple is going to be hand brushed on. We'll go in here on the upper portion of the pillar. The bones will be white, and I've got a 5-gallon jug of white already, so I didn't buy any more. And then the purple will go down in between. So I'll kind of highlight that. Then I've got a darker gray, and we're going to be coming back through and trying a misting technique on some of the detail work here on the gray area. So the basic coloring will be a light gray with some dark gray accents. That's what I'm hoping for. And then I've also picked up a dark red color, which will be coming back through and doing all these details. All brushwork, has to be brushwork. And then the last color I picked up is black, and that's going to be for the damaged areas and the cracks and what have you. Right now out here I'm basically going to be working on just the spraying. I got kind of a white, creamy white color. I'm going to be spraying all the panels on that first, and then coming back through after they dry, shooting the base coat on the gray and the base coat on the red on them. Spent yesterday going through and marking my panels with these, doing a permanent attachment to the partition wall, and then I took the panels off. I did that for 2 reasons, mounting them to the partition wall. One, I needed to mark where these were going to go. I wanted to see what type of damage they were going to cause. And unlike the metal washers, the damage they did was real light, just a little bit of dimpling, which I like. So, Ghoulish Cop, Rich, thank you for this idea with these plastic washers. They work a lot better than the metal washers, and they're cheaper, so thank you. Also, another reason why I attached them to a partition wall, I always make my panels slightly bigger than I need. That way I can make sure they end up the right size. So what I end up doing is I mount these to a partition wall, and then I go through with my handy dandy rasp and hit some of the sides. If it's sticking over the wall a little bit, I trim down the top a little bit if it needs a little bit of trimming, what have you, so I get more of an exact fit. And I was able to do that yesterday. Got all 21 panels of this style finished. Now what I'm working on today is I'm starting to shoot my base coat, which is a white. and it's going over pretty good. But I'm shooting, I want to cover all the panels in the white, for the simple fact, in the long run, it's going to save me paint. Usually when I shoot my colors for the panel on there, if I'm going over blue or pink foam, I have to give it 1 to 2 coats. Usually about 2 coats, just to cover the pink. I think if I gave them 1 shot of white, the white will help hide some of the pink. And when I shoot my colors on there, you know, I only need to use 1 coat. I don't have to do multiple coats to get to cover, which is perfect. These here that I bought ran about 19 bucks a gallon. You know, I got them down at Home Depot. That big 5-gallon bucket down there is my white color. And that I got down at Habitat for Humanity for about 50 bucks. 5-gallon bucket of paint usually runs around $100 to $150, brand new at like Home Depot, Lowe's, Ace, wherever you go. So I got a good deal on it. You know, 50 bucks for 5 gallons. That's pretty good. So anyway, you know, makes it perfect for doing detail work or base coats like I'm doing here, what have you. So anyway, that's what I'm working on today. I'm going to go through and get them all sprayed, all 21 of this style of panel sprayed in the white. I'll let them dry overnight, and then tomorrow I'll come out and either do the gray or the red, along with any masking and what have you I need to get done. It's been about 48 hours since I've been out here in the shop and shot my base color, my primer coat, I guess you call it, onto the panels. I gotta do prep work for shooting my colors on. This top section's getting the red, lower section's getting the gray, and I don't, like when I'm shooting the red, I don't want to get gray or red, you know, down below or gray up above. So I'm going to need to take masking tape and painter's paper and go through and get each of the panels prepped. So I'm going to do that, and then we'll see what time it is, and I might come through and shoot some color on these panels as well. But that's what we're going to be working on today. I'll give you a little bit of footage as I kind of go along so you can see what's what. Got the first panel prepped for painting. Now my first area I'm going to shoot is going to be the bottom part here. And back that out, it was zoomed in, it shouldn't have been. Sorry about that. But like I was saying, I'm going to shoot the gray first, which is basically on this bottom section, on the bottom part of the pillar, and then up here on the top of the pillar as well. I do not want to get as little as I can on the gray up here where the red's going to be. Also here on the center pillar where the bone pattern is there on the pillar, I don't want any red or gray in that area. The bones I want to leave white. The indented, you know, the spaces in between the bones are going to get that purple. So I want to keep the gray and the red out of that. So I went ahead and I masked that area off. That area will stay taped until both the red and the gray have been sprayed. And then I taped off up on the cap there. So this panel, for the all intents and purposes right now, is ready for gray, to be sprayed with gray. Before I can do that though, I've got all the other panels to tape, and there's, you know, 20 more panels I've got to get taped. Took me about 20 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes to get this prepped. Now, one other thing I should say too is, like I said, this is prepped for shooting the gray. Once the gray's dried, I've got to take, you know, some of these areas off and do the reverse down here, you know. So I'll be prepping these panels a couple different times between colors. Hey peeps, welcome to another day. We left you yesterday with me getting some parts of the each panel masked off, you know, where I don't want paint to get to. Now, this masking is just so I can shoot the bottom half of the panels, the gray, which is this color here, and it will look different when it's dry. Usually looks darker. I've got 7 panels done so far. We got the top done up there, and then we've got the bottom part done. Now The gray is one of the primary colors. This section up here is going to be shot in one of the reds that I picked up, and to do that I got to redo all my masking, and that'll be a couple days from now. Right now I'm working on basically the bottom half of the board. We're getting this light gray, well, I guess you call it light gray compared to the other one, which is a darker gray, shot on. Once this is dried, which will be in a day or two, I'll come back out with my smaller airbrush with some of the darker gray, and like this piece here, the grooves in the pillar, you know, and some of the highlights on the lower section will get shot with a darker gray. I'm going to try doing a misting technique on it. You know, I want it to look more like a stone marbling type look. So I'll be shooting that. Once that gray's on, I can come back through, take off this tape, reset it, and shoot the red. Now, I'm expecting, and in fact I know I'm going to have it, especially down in here, when I get the tape off, that I'm going to have some bleed over from this gray onto the sections where the red is. And then when I shoot the red, you know, get this all masked off and go to shoot the red on here, I'll have the same effect on the gray. In order to fix that, when I'm doing my hand detailing on the panels, I'll come back through with the appropriate colors and touch up those areas and blend them in. There's always a little bit of hand touch up on these. I'm not the most perfect of a painter. So, hey people, been a little over a week since I shot my last segment out here. We've had some family issues come up, and I haven't done anything with the foam carving. And we still got family issues going on. I said, I'm taking this weekend off. I'm going to work on my foam panel. Did a little carving last night. Today, you know, the panels are still pretty much in the same condition as they were in the last segment you saw it. So I figured I gotta get out here, and I wanted to get my dark gray. I got the light gray sprayed on. I want to get my dark gray sprayed on, which was supposed to consist of, here, and I'll show you here, I got a couple of them taped out. This trim piece at the bottom, the chair rails, and the trim piece there. I was going to do those in dark gray. I got to looking at it, I've got about 10 panels taped off, ready for spraying. Still got 11 panels over there ready to be, put into this stage. And I got to thinking about it. You know, the wainscoting down here is a light gray. Okay, if I leave the pillar in the light gray and just darken in the grooves are going to stand up, but the pillar is going to be buried. It's going to blend in with that wainscoting. Yeah, I don't like that idea. So I'm doing a change. What I think I'm going to end up doing, which means I've got to go back through the 11 panels I've already done. Take all of the taping I've done and the paper and stuff off and reapply it here along the pillar. I'm going to shoot the whole pillar. The end, the trim, this part of the column, that little detail, and the cap in the dark gray. Then when I get ready to do my brush work, I'm going to come back in by brush with the lighter gray, and I'm going to do the grooves in a lighter gray. That should make the pillar pop, and I want the pillar to pop. Now on the chair rail, originally, I was going to paint the whole chair rail in that darker gray. Wife and I were talking. I think what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to change that plan too. I'm going to leave the indent part here in the light gray, but I'm just going to do this bump in the dark gray. And instead of trying to spray it, I'll come back when I'm doing my detail work by brush and paint that into a darker gray. Hey people, it's time for a spray party. Got the radio over there, got it set up with some good tunes. It's back there behind here. Yesterday I ran you through the masking off for the next color. You know, we've already shot the white, that was the base coat. We've shot this light gray on here, which is the color of the cove. Now I'm getting ready. I got the pillar I need to do. And what I'm going to do is I've got, we'll go over here like this, a darker gray. So you can see the difference between the two. Now that darker gray is going on the pillar. It's going to go from the bottom up to here, and then the cap. is going to get the darker gray. And then when I get into the hand detailing stage, I'll come back with a little bit of this light gray, and I'm going to do the fluting on the pillar and that so it stands out and just doesn't fade in. But that's another step for a later day. Today it's getting that pillar spray. Now, let's see, where are they at? Here they are, here. I've got two paint guns here. Got that one there, and I got a smaller one. Now, with the spraying I've done so far, I've been using my bigger sprayer. Holds about a quart of paint and what have you. It works great, puts out quite a bit of paint. Problem with it is the overspray. In other words, when I go to spray my affected area with the air and stuff that it uses to spray, you get a lot of splash. A lot of it gets up in the air and you end up with a misting of whatever color you're shooting over everything. Which is, you know, okay to an extent. For this pillar, I don't want that. I want to try to keep as much of the dark gray off this light gray on the wainscoting and on the white to a minimum. So I'm going to switch over from the big sprayer to this little sprayer. It takes less air. That one I shoot at about 90 pounds worth of pressure. This one I shoot at about 60 pounds worth of pressure. Less air force, less spillage, you know, overflow. So I'm going to be using that small sprayer to shoot this. Drawback to it is I'm going to have to fill it with paint more often. You know, the reservoir the paint goes in is right here, and compared to that one, you can see, you know, it holds a lot less paint. So I'll be refilling the sprayer a lot more. Two, with it being at a lower pressure, being 60 pounds pressure versus the 90, it takes longer to spray. So, you know, I'm going to have to deal with that. But in the long run, it will save me a lot of time because I won't have as much touch-up, hopefully. Just got done doing the dark gray. Thought I'd give you a look. I know the paper's still on there, so you really can't see much of a contrast. But the darker gray does make that pillar stand out a lot more from the light gray that I put on. Now, tomorrow, I'm going to let these dry overnight. And tomorrow when I get out here, we're going to get out here. I'm going to have to take the paper off. Along here, this area will be done. Paper here will come off. And then I want to leave the tape over this part. I explained the reason for the tape here in one of the earlier sections. You can rewind it or watch the last vlog or what have. I can't remember which one it was in. I'm going to leave that there, but this excess here needs to come off. So I'll trim that off and I'll get that cut off tomorrow, as well as getting set up for shooting the red. And there is a little bit of prep work I need to do in order to shoot the red on here. But the red up there on the wallpaper sections will be the last color I shoot on with my paint guns over there. The rest of it will be all brushwork. So, and that's a whole nother vlog. Yesterday I spent about 4.5 hours converting the panels over from the way I had them taped to the way I have them taped now. Now, you got a little bit better look at the base here. You can see the light gray, the pillar contrast a lot better, being a darker gray. And I'm thinking about coming in here with some of the light gray and shading this out. That will be done in the hand detailing stage. But right now I've got a skirting on here to prevent overspray onto the gray. And as you can see, I still got the pillar, top part of the pillar in the blue tape. All the panels are like that. And I've gone and taped this part of the pillar and the top part of the pillar off. I don't want red on those. What we're going to be doing is shooting the light red on the wallpaper today. Then once that's on here, I can come out and get all the tape off and everything, and these panels will be done with the base coat, or for, you know, the spray part. The rest will be all hand detail. Before I get the first panel up here on the table though, I've got some screws to do. Now, just like on the wainscoting, there's 4 screws on the wainscoting to hold the bottom half of the panel on. On the top, there's also 4 screws. A little bit of a difference though. These here that I've got are enough to do all the panels in this hole and this hole over here. The other two holes are right here. There's one here and one over here. Now, with the color I'm spraying, it's just going to be this flat part here. So I need to spray the screw heads that go in that area only. That color I'm spraying this, so they blend in. These areas here will be brushed in, but I'll get some of that paint out as well, and I'll spray those screw heads that color, so they blend in. You know, real quick, real easy on that one. But right now, I'm going to get those screw heads covered, and then I'm going to start getting panels up, and I'll give you a shot of it after I'm done. And then tomorrow we'll get out here, we'll get all the tape off the pillars and stuff, you know, and let the panels finish curing, and I'll give you a shot with all the tape and stuff off. Here we go. That's the colored red. I can show you. You kind of see the gray, light gray of the wainscoting, dark gray of the pillar, and then the red up on top. Now, I'm going to let this dry for a day or two, and then I've got to come back out and get the paper and the tape all off, and then you can get a little bit better look with the bone field and what have you. Excuse me. But for all intents and purposes, for this half of the project, they're ready for hand detailing. And with the hand detailing, I got to come in here and do these little areas in here. It's all by brush. The white, I'm pretty sure, is going to need some sort of touch up on the little bones or underneath the tape. The background on that gets painted purple. I've also got some black outlining to do up in here, down the sides of the pillars. I've got the cracks and damage I need to do down there. I got light gray in here in the bone panel. I'll cover all of that either in this vlog or the next vlog on going through doing the detail process. One thing I did want to mention is when you're doing any sort of spraying, make sure you wear a face mask on it, because there are a lot of, you know, whether you're using the electric sprayer like the Wagners or these air sprayers, you still get a lot of stuff up in the air, and it's not good to be breathing in. So make sure you wear some sort of face mask to cover your nose and your mouth so you're not breathing in a lot of those fumes. They can make you very, very sick. So give you that tip too. First half, the easy part of this project is done. We got the tape and stuff off, but that's what the base coat, for the most part, looks like. And it is messy. Where I had the blue tape over the pillar, it took off a little bit of the white. No problem with that. I'll be going over those in the next stage of the project. As it is, there was a little bleed over when I shot the red into here. You know, that's all going to get covered and what have you. You know, little things. And I can catch that when I get into the detail process. I can get those covered up. The main aspect was to get the base colors on the foam board, which I did. I got the light gray for the wainscoting and the chair rail. I got the dark gray for the bottom part of the pillar and the cap, and I got the red on. This section here is all brushwork. So now on to brushwork. I'm not exactly quite ready to do the brushwork on these yet, or detail work, I guess you could call it. I still got the other half of the panels in the house yet being carved, and that's those are the panels that don't have the pillar on them. I got like 5 left. I gotta get carved. Once those are carved, I can get those out here and put those to the same treatment as these. Once those are all done, I can get started on the brushwork. Brushwork is going to consist of the cracks, these damaged areas, and I got 2 up here on this section. Those are getting put into black. The eyeballs in the damaged areas, those are getting painted white. The bone field here, this bone detailing on the wainscoting, that's going to be in white. The bones and the skulls up here, those will be in white. The eye sockets, nose, and mouth on the little skull will be black. This indented field here, in between the bones, that's going to be in a purple. And then the grooves here are actually going to be this light gray, and I'll do those in by hand. Basic reasoning is it's in the long run just a lot easier, saves a lot more time, because if not I'd have to tape all this off, and I didn't want to have to go through and do that. And I cannot use a stencil. I know some of you would probably recommend, why not just make a stencil and lay the stencil on there and spray it. Well, the grooves actually vary slightly from panel to panel, so a template would not work. I'd still have to go in and do a lot of brush touch up. And then I have the decorative pattern on the wallpaper, which is getting that dark red. All of that's got to be done by brush. It's extremely time consuming, about like what it was for carving. And actually the brushing actually takes, the brush detail work actually takes longer than the carving. So. But right now I'm going to let these sit out here. The paint is dry to the touch and everything on the panels. And I'm going to let them sit out here and cure for a couple of days. That'll give me a chance to get in the house and get the carving done, get cleaned up. Then I can move those panels out here, get them sprayed, move these into the house, and I can start doing some detail work.